Well, welcome back to the When I Heard This podcast. My name is Nate Robinsoff, and here with Pastor Joseph Tillman, MDiv, soon to be D-Man. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm well.
Good.
Yeah.
Doing better than last week?
I'm okay.
Or the last, whatever we did this?
Yeah, last week. I'm okay.
Cool.
I'm okay. So just still processing, working through it. So, but yeah, so I'm doing all right, man. Thanks for asking.
Well, we got a light topic today.
I know. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
You would just like ease me back into things. Yeah.
I felt like last couple times we're a little like, Joseph's, we got to get back in the groove after a couple weeks off. And,
right.
And so now we're, it just felt like we need a little more time.
Okay.
To just ease back into this podcast.
Right.
And doing it.
Right.
More. With abortion.
Right. That's the light topic you chose. Yeah. Out of all the topics you could have chosen.
So you don't get to laugh today.
Not much.
This is a sensitive subject.
It really is a pretty sensitive subject.
Yeah.
So.
And it's fun to bring up at parties.
You have an interesting definition of fun. See, but we were talking about this earlier. Like, you love awkward moments.
I do.
So for you, it probably is a fun thing just to throw the word in there and see what happens.
Conversation.
Yeah.
Abortion.
Just like that. Right.
Go to Patreon, $5. Like, subscribe, share, comment, follow, download. You can follow the podcast on Facebook and Instagram at When I Heard This Podcast, and X and Locals at When I Heard This. Ring the notification bell and tell everyone that you know about the show. Also, we have a website with t-shirts and all the other stuff. Was that good?
Oh, good, man.
All right. So abortion. Here we go. What's
All right.
abortion?
Okay.
What is abortion?
All right. We're just going to define it.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm just going to use a couple of different definitions. Okay. So Oxford, so just going to basic Oxford dictionary, defines it as the deliberate termination of a human pregnancy. Okay. All right. A legal definition, according to Cornell law, would be abortion is the voluntary termination of a pregnancy.
Okay.
So, but I think we're kind of getting a sense of, okay, that's actually what it would be, the termination of a pregnancy, deliberate, voluntary. Now, each state and its own laws will have its own definition of abortion, but we're not going to go through 50 states worth of definitions. But I believe that, and I think most people would probably add to the legal definition a little bit, and to say that abortion is the voluntary termination of a pregnancy, which does not include spontaneous miscarriages or maternal health.
What's the difference between a spontaneous miscarriage and a not a spontaneous miscarriage? Okay,
so because some people would use the word miscarriage and abortion like interchangeably.
Okay.
Now, I mean, I don't know if it'd be common in most people's just common language use of it, but to say spontaneous means, in other words, that a miscarriage was not deliberately determined to happen. That the woman didn't determine, okay, I'm going to have a miscarriage or an abortion, using that word interchangeably there.
Oh, like there were no signs that there were any problems until it happened.
Right. It was just a spontaneous miscarriage. Or even if they knew there was a risk, there was some concern, but there was nothing they could do about it. The miscarriage happened. So,
okay.
Yeah. So I think making distinctions between the spontaneous miscarriages and maternal health issues, that when a pregnancy is terminated because of that, in other words, because we're choosing to save a mother's life, that wouldn't be labeled in the context of abortion and the way that, again, most people are going to talk about abortion in its common usage.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah. And I want to, and because I do think I want to make sure I'm clear with this, that because as we go into discussing abortion, I want to be clear that pregnancies which end due to miscarriages or to the saving of a mother's life is not what I would refer to as an abortion. Okay. So when I say abortion going forward, I want to make sure that I'm not equating abortion with individuals that have miscarriages or that through health reasons, a pregnancy is terminated to save that mother's life. So and we'll get into the nuances of how it's even terminated, because it's most often not just terminated in the sense of the way even abortion is played out most often. So the pregnancy is ended, but it's usually because of induced labor of a child, of an unborn child. So the induced labor that leads to that child not being able to survive outside the womb. And so, or there's a C-section. So same thing. So,
well, when I say abortion moving forward, I have no idea what I mean.
Okay.
You're not supposed to laugh.
Well,
we're talking about abortion.
I know, but it's interesting because I'm actually defining things, which is usually what you want to do.
Right.
But you're living in
I appreciate that you defined it.
Yes. And so, so I hope that helps going forward of what I mean by abortion. And
so there's like science world and abortion. And then there's crazy religious version of abortion.
Okay.
Perspective.
Okay. All right.
Because some of them get crazy.
Okay, that's fair.
So we're going to start with science.
Okay.
So from a science perspective, why do you hate abortion?
Okay, from a science perspective. All right. So scientifically, I think that abortion is the taking of an innocent life.
Okay.
All right. So, because even at the earliest point of...
How do you know they're innocent?
Have they done anything wrong?
I don't know.
All right. It's innocent.
Okay.
It's innocent. Same way that you would say the killing of a newborn child would not be okay, because that's an innocent life.
Okay.
All right. So, you're just going to be this guy today, aren't you? All right. For even at the earliest point of conception... the embryo there is a genetically unique being. Okay. And because the natural, so already automatically we have a genetically unique being that is separate than the genetically unique being of the mother. Okay. All right. And then there's a natural movement that if left, if left unharmed and just allowed to naturally develop, most often you're going to end up with a child that's born 9 months later. Okay. And again, we're acknowledging that miscarriages happen. Okay. That does happen. But the embryo is not evolving or mutating or anything into a human. Okay. So it's not like, in other words, that there's the embryo and it becomes something else. There's not like a movement between like embryo, fetus, quote unquote human being, because I would label all of that human being.
Okay.
All right.
So the people who wouldn't, why would they not?
It's interesting because speaking just scientifically, okay. Let me quote Peter Singer. Okay. So Peter Singer is definitely not a Christian. He is okay with abortions. All right. But this is what he would say. Whether a being is a member of a given species is something that can be determined scientifically by an examination of the nature of the chromosomes in the cells of living organisms. In this sense, there is no doubt that from the first moments of its existence, an embryo conceived from human sperm and eggs is a human being.
Okay.
To be honest, scientifically, we have to call that embryo a human being.
Okay.
Now, I think where the distinctions can come into play is what are the rights or the value of that human being at that stage.
Okay.
All right. Because, again, it's already a human. It's already genetically unique. And so I think individuals that are for abortion, hopefully scientifically, are not debating the scientificness of, or the science, the science behind, is that a human being already? I'm hoping they're already saying that's a human being.
Okay.
But then the issue becomes...
It's just okay to kill it.
Right.
Right.
What are the rights and the values of that human being at that, at that moment before, and again, we'll get into the different stages where people want to kind of put specific moments of, oh, okay, now they're actually a viable human being, with rights and those kind of things. So.
What does viable mean?
Well, most often viable would mean that the human being would be able to be self-dependent. In other words, it's not dependent on being in the womb to maintain life.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Which, well, I know we'll get to it, but that has its own issues too.
Okay, so I found some arguments for why killing the human being that is in the womb is cool.
Okay.
And good.
Okay.
And fun or something. Anyway, the first one is heartbeat. Okay. So at some point the human being gets a heartbeat inside the mother.
Okay.
So, what do you think of that argument scientifically or according to Jesus?
Okay. All right. Scientifically, if we're talking about when does the baby have a heartbeat? Okay. So some will identify that as early as 5 or 6 weeks, which we see in some of the heartbeat bills that are been passed in our country in different states. Some of it will push it back to like 12 weeks. Others will push it back even further than that.
Okay.
And so it kind of, because it begins to determine, so in other words, there's an argument of even what's a heartbeat.
Oh, okay.
Because if it's, that's why this is gets kind of crazy, because if it is just when you begin to be able to hear the beat, the rhythm of like basically electrical firing there within the chamber or within the embryo there, you're going to hear that really early. Okay. But the heart itself is not fully developed, like 4 chambers, until we're getting into our the mid-20s of weeks.
Okay.
And so is therefore that when the heartbeat is actually there, is when there's a full 4-chambered heart, right? So, right. So you can get into the nuances of this stuff too. Okay. I guess, but if you're asking me, is it at the point where we can hear a heartbeat that embryo or that fetus actually has life? Then I'm going to go back to what we just said a minute ago.
Okay.
Where human life is established at point of conception.
Okay.
All right. And so, and that is when that child should begin to be considered to have life. And so whether one defines a heartbeat at 5 or 6 weeks, 21 days after conception or later, my argument's still the same. Life's already there.
Okay. So then you would say the same thing about whenever the baby feels pain, because that's a different argument.
It's a different argument. Yes.
For when we should be allowed to kill
correct
fetus.
Yeah, because even there you've got differing of opinions. Okay. So because some people will say, well, the child doesn't actually have pain pathways neurologically until like week 26 to 30, depending on the development of that child. And so until then it's fine, supposedly. Well, but then we also know that once you get in the second trimester, that the baby, and whether it's just sensing things, pain or not pain or whatever, but we know the embryo is shifting, moving when it begins to feel threatened. And so there's already a sense of movement there. And so I guess, yeah. So same exact argument. And
Okay.
so whether it's the heartbeat argument, the feeling pain argument, the viability argument, it's all, I come back to the same point. That there's already human life there. So that human life already has rights and values.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you think human life is important?
Very.
Okay.
In terms of human
I
life.
guess we should establish that.
Yeah, because I would say that human life's important, very important.
Okay.
Because human life is marked by having the image of God.
So what do you make of the argument that the baby is inside a woman
Mm-hmm.
and it's sucking off of her blood in her food and making her fat, and she doesn't like that, and so and it's not fair because she shouldn't have to be forced to do this thing if she doesn't want to.
Okay.
What do you got?
All right. One.
Christian man.
Okay. So one, again, we've established that life is there from conception.
Okay.
Okay. And then one cannot just choose to kill innocent life. Like if that's human life,
Okay.
we can't just make the choice to go kill human life, the innocent human life,
So screw you and what you want about your body.
because an individual feels inconvenienced.
Okay.
Like that's not a good enough reason or rationale. Okay,
Why not?
to take
Inconvenience sucks.
it does. So if it's okay if a parent is becoming annoyed with their child, and they're annoyed with it, they're inconvenienced with it, it's making life difficult. So you know what? Kill the child.
I don't know. I've never had kids.
So no, and you know this answer, right? Like everyone's going to go, no, that's not okay.
Okay.
Same thing.
Yeah.
All right. And so, but I do want to say this. Like I'm not coming, I don't want to come across callous.
Okay.
I don't want to come across like I don't care. I'm not because like watching my own wife go through 3 pregnancies, she was uncomfortable a lot.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I mean, the first pregnancy, she was sick as a dog. She was sick. Then she got into an auto accident. And so labor got triggered at the very end of the second trimester.
Oh.
So then we were in the hospital. She had to be, she had to stop working. She was bedridden for the last 3 months of her pregnancy. It was the summertime. We live in the South. Our first child was born at the end of August. So she was miserable.
Sounds terrible.
Yeah. So, I mean, and it was...
If only there was something she could have done about it.
It was difficult. But...
I'm just kidding.
Human life. I know.
Sorry, Joseph's children.
Yeah. And my oldest one actually listens to this, so you really go ahead and apologize to him too.
Sorry, dude.
So,
just looking out for your mom.
right. So, so she had difficulties with, or not difficult. I mean, that obviously was the most difficult pregnancy she had. But then the other 2 weren't, just jumping up and down exciting either in terms of the way she always felt. Okay. So I get the fact that.
So you're making the other side's case for them right now.
No, I'm acknowledging the fact that yes, it can be inconvenient. Yes. You have to stop working at times because of pregnancies. Yes, it can be difficult. Like I'm acknowledging all of those things, and I'm still saying, but none of those things are reasons enough to take innocent human life.
All right.
And so that's what I would say. Number one.
There's more. Okay.
Well, let me pause there because I know we're going to get to the issue of what happens if I am, if someone is raped.
Right.
We'll get to that. So I'll stop there for now.
Or poor.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Exactly.
If a mother is going to die, is it okay for her to kill fetus?
Okay. So, yeah, and I did allude to this earlier. So this is referred to, as like a medical abortion or a maternal, health need. And so, but it's most often not really labeled. I mean, okay, it would be technically an abortion in the sense of that a pregnancy is potentially ended prematurely, but most often it's not really abortion, because what happens in these situations is that, again, labor is induced or there's a C-section and the child is born. Okay. And obviously, again, if you're before that, let's say 24, 25 week window, and there's some exceptions of earlier on, but really before that window, I'll just say the chances of that child's survival is very minimal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so, depending on how far along you are.
So you're delivering it alive and then it's dying on a table.
Yeah. Or it will be born, either be stillborn, right? Mm-hmm. If a child is induced in that situation, and obviously, they're given the opportunity, if the child survives the induction, whether it's through natural means or C-section, the child's placed in, NICU, and they do everything they can medically to help that child.
What'd you say? What was that?
NICU.
What is that?
Oh, it's for infant or newborns.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an intensive care unit for newborns.
Okay.
Yeah. So NICU. So a lot of hospitals, some hospitals have NICU units where the babies are placed. And that's where they are, cared for by doctors and by nurses, and they are given every opportunity they can medically to live. Okay.
All right.
Some of them make it and some of them don't. And so, we actually have a really close relative, and the same situation happened where they were going to have to induce labor to save her. Like if she had continued on in labor, all it was going to do was it was becoming very medically unsafe for her, life-threatening for her. So they made a decision, we need to induce labor. They had no idea if that child was going to live or not. I think the child was 26 weeks at that point. So very small, very young. And but several years later, the child made it and is beautiful little girl. And so, really a miracle baby. Mm-hmm. And so I know that there are those scares, but I think that as a Christian, it's justified, if you want to put it that way, because you're giving that child an opportunity to live. Okay.
Okay.
And again, and obviously we know if this is happening, really early on, that child's not going to make it. But it's not as if you're intentionally taking that child's life.
You are trying to save mom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is the part that I don't get.
Okay.
I understand all the science, and I think talking about all the science is very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And that stuff makes sense to me because it's science.
Right.
So from science world, I get all the arguments.
Okay.
But from Christian world, I don't understand all the arguments.
Okay.
So, Mr. Christian.
Okay, right.
Why do you hate abortion?
Okay.
And what is your Christian view of abortion?
Okay. Yeah, and you're right. I do.
Ignoring science. I mean, you can bring science into it. But I wanted to separate it. Because the Christian view is like voodoo opinions and stuff like that.
Okay, so I'm so interested to hear the things you've heard Christians
God
say.
God says you must be miserable, so you must be miserable. Kind of thing.
Okay, well, that's terrible.
So go for it.
So, all right. Yeah, well, again, I hate abortion because I view it as the killing of innocent life.
Okay.
As a Christian, that's as far as we need to go, right? Like,
okay.
So, in other words,
That's it? End of episode?
I mean, well, I mean, for Christians, we should be able to say we are against the killing of an innocent human being.
Mm-hmm.
Abortion is the killing of an innocent human being.
Okay.
Therefore, we are against abortion.
Okay, so you're pulling the human being from science world into Christian world to...
Because we deem, as Christians, we deem all human life as having value, as being... So all human life it has a sacredness and a sanctity of it, you know?
Okay.
So yes.
All right. Is that your only answer for that?
Yeah, because I don't think it has to go and I think as Christians we shouldn't divorce ourselves from science either. Okay. Right? That we can.
Christians hate divorce also, so I mean they do it all the time, but
man, don't get me started on that one. Okay, so I think that as Christians we should. I mean, obviously, human life is of value.
Mm-hmm.
And every human life, there is sanctity to that human life. So therefore, we're going to value that human life. Okay. And so I just don't think that, I don't think that this isn't complicated for me. You know?
Okay.
I mean, it's not as a Christian. It's like scientifically, there's human life. All right. The human life is there.
Mm-hmm.
The human life is innocent. I don't want to take that human life. Therefore, I'm against abortion.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What is every single verse that Christians bring up in order to hate people who get abortions?
Okay. So number one, we shouldn't hate people who get abortions.
Okay.
Okay. That's just no.
Okay.
All right.
In order to throw people's abortions back in their face with Bible.
Okay. So let me just give you the passages of scripture. That was a very weird way you phrased that. Let me just give you the scriptures that Christians more than likely will know.
Okay.
Or they should know of, hey, this is...
I'm going to nitpick all these, by the way.
Why you value human life. Okay, that's fine.
Yes.
You can
up front with that.
Because
this is the part I'm confused about.
Okay.
There's a lot of verses thrown around, and none of them really make sense.
Okay. All right. So, Jeremiah 1:5.
Mm-hmm. Old Testament. So,
Old Testament.
So grain of salt on this one, right?
No, we... All right. Anyways, Jeremiah 1:5.
Mm-hmm.
Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I consecrated you. Okay. And I think that's like the reality is before we're ever formed in the womb. Before
you're formed in the womb.
Right.
Okay.
The Lord knows us.
Okay. So am I a human being before being, am I a human being during the forming process?
You are, okay. In what forming process of?
Before I formed you in the womb.
So, okay.
So if I'm still being formed, am I a person?
If you're, in other words, if you're being developed, is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Like the development does not take away from the fact that we are human.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, because we continue to develop beyond,
True.
The womb. So we develop in size, we develop in being able to our own rational, reasonable, abilities. And so there's constant development going on.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
also, okay. So with that verse.
So, all right. So the Lord knew us is all I'm saying in that. Okay?
Yeah.
All right.
But so what? Like he knew us at what point? Like he knew me when I was 30? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. So so I think
what did he know? He knew
everything about us.
Okay.
From the point, and what he's trying to say is before you were even born and before you were even conceived, he knew who we were.
Okay.
Okay. So we were already in his mind, in his thoughts, and that, I mean, because in his foreknowledge, he knew everything before he even created Earth.
Okay, well, that one does nothing for me.
Okay, that's fine. That's all I'm saying. You asked me to say the verses that people use.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing.
No, I know, but these are the things that I'm confused about because yes, I get science, but if I can't figure out how to make my Christianity make sense with not liking abortion, then why would I not like abortion?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, if that's okay. I understand what you're going for. For me, it's to be honest with you, for me,
okay,
it's as simple as one of the 10 commandments: "Thou shalt not kill," or "Thou shalt not commit murder."
Okay.
Right? Like that's like I'm good with that one. Like for me, that satisfies
Is that the next
everything
verse?
for me biblically. Now I'm going to give you some others.
Okay.
Because let's talk about what people use, right? And then let you critique them. So we'll go to Psalm 139.
Okay.
And verse 13 here. And so this is David talking about, speaking to the Lord, okay? "For you formed my inward parts, you knitted me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works, my soul knows it very well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was being made in secret, intricately woven in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed substance. In your book were written, every one of them, the days that were formed for me, when as yet there was none of them."
Okay.
So
same thing as the other one.
Yeah. So this is just saying, hey, but the Lord is the one who is forming us, who is creating us. So,
okay.
And because he is the one who is making us, that we are fearfully and wonderfully made, and we're made as human beings, and we're made in his image. Therefore,
okay,
don't kill. Okay,
don't kill God's.
Don't kill God's creation.
Don't stop God's weaving.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
okay.
All right. Let's go to a few others.
Yes, sir.
All right. Exodus 21, verse 22.
Okay.
When men strive together and hit a pregnant woman so that her children come out, but there is no harm, the one who hit her shall surely be fined, as the woman's husband shall impose on him, and he shall pay as the judge determines. Okay, so in other words, there's a pregnant woman.
Mm-hmm.
She is hit. Okay.
Okay.
Child is born, but the child's okay.
Okay.
All right. So in other words, in induced labor, maybe even prematurely, but the child's okay.
Okay.
All right. Then at that point, there should be a judgment that's imposed on him for the judge to determine. Okay.
All right.
Verse 23 of Exodus 21. But if there is harm, then you shall pay life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burn for burn, wound for wound, stripe for stripe. And these are the same things that we're talking about when. So in other words, if there is so the woman's hit,
mm-hmm.
labor is induced, child is born, but there is harm to that child. In other words, the child did not make it. If the child's life ends because of that, then the individual will have to pay for their life.
How would they know?
What do you mean?
Wouldn't it just come out as a bloody mess?
Well, it depends on how far along,
right?
They are. So, but I'll say the child's not living, okay,
right,
not breathing, and so therefore the whole life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand. These are the same punishments that are given toward other human beings
when they kill other human beings.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
So already it's the idea of but
they're attaching the human being to the human being.
Yes.
Okay.
The idea of giving humanness and personhood to this child. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So that's one, and then So
all these verses put together are kind of stacking up.
Okay. And And then again, we could go to Genesis.
In your favor.
In my favor. Okay. Yeah. And then again in Genesis, where it talks about the fact that we have been made in the image of God. So Genesis 1:26 through 27, they should be made in the image of God. And then finally, again, they'll one of the 10 commandments that I said earlier, thou shalt not commit murder, right?
Okay.
So, and if abortion is murder, then they'll do that, which for me, that's what it is. So those are the scriptures that are often brought up.
Okay. For Christians to hate abortion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what verses do Christians who love abortion bring up to like support their love for it?
Okay.
Or them supporting abortion?
Yeah. And I'll even say brought up by individuals that maybe are not Christian.
Right.
To say, hey, your Bible's inconsistent.
Okay.
And so I'm going to read from Numbers 5. It's by far the most common one that's brought up.
Okay.
And so I'm going to Numbers 5, and I'm going to use the NIV version.
Okay.
And then I'm going to read it from another version, and then we'll get into the original language, because I want to set up the distinctions here. All right. So anyway.
Okay. This is confusing, but go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Just stay with me. So in the New International Version, which is a really common translation that's used among Christians.
Okay.
All right. I would probably say at this point in time, it is the most common translation used. All right. So this is what it says in...
I like King James. It sounds fancy.
It does sound fancy. Can't always understand it, but it sounds fancy.
And way more like the Jesus I think Jesus is.
Very righteous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
I like all the THs.
Yeah. You like that Elizabethan English, don't you? Yeah.
It's the best part.
And we read it today, and really most of us can't understand all of it.
When you're in a Bible study group and you bring that version, everyone's like, oh, well. Yeah. And it makes me feel like I know what I'm talking about more than everybody else. So.
Right, because it sounds that religious and that holy.
Anyway, abortion, go ahead.
All right. So NIV, Numbers 5. And so here in Numbers 5, what's happened is it's a woman is being brought before the priest because the husband believes that she has committed adultery.
So a woman brought before the priest. Okay.
And and therefore there is a prescription given here to determine if in fact that woman, or not really to determine, but it's how else I want to call it a prescription. The Lord gives instructions. That's what I'm looking for. The Lord gives instructions for the man and the woman to go before the priest. Okay. And then the priest is going to give the woman, okay, a bitter water to drink. All right. And in that water will come a curse if indeed she committed adultery. Okay.
This is in the Bible?
This is in the Bible. Yeah. And so it's not saying that a husband has to do this. It's just saying basically the husband, if he's kind of losing his mind over this, he's jealous over this, and he just can't get to a place of peace, and he can't figure out if it actually, because he's unsure if it actually happened or not. This is what he does. So he comes before the priest.
What does this have to do with abortion?
Follow me on this.
Okay.
All right. Verse 20. But if you have gone astray while married to your husband, and you have made yourself impure by having sexual relations with a man other than your husband, here the priest is to put the woman under this curse. May the Lord cause you to become a curse among your people when he makes your womb miscarry and your abdomen swell. May this water that brings a curse into your body so that your abdomen swells or your womb miscarries.
So the priest is inducing a miscarriage because she cheated on her husband. Okay.
And so in other
abortion.
Words, right. In other words, is it this abortion?
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
And so
interested where this goes?
Yeah. So that's
What if she wasn't pregnant?
okay. Right. All right. So hold. Okay. Well, let me keep reading it, I guess, to give some further context, and then we're going to move to another one. All right.
Another one.
I mean, another translation.
Oh.
Okay. Then the woman is to say, "Amen, so be it." The priest is to write these curses on a scroll and then wash them off into the bitter water. He shall make the woman drink the bitter water that brings a curse, and this water that brings a curse and causes bitter suffering will enter her. The priest is to take from her hands the grain offering for jealousy, wave it before the Lord, and bring it to the altar. The priest is to take a handful of the grain offering as a memorial offering, burn it on the altar. After that, he is to have the woman drink the water. If she has made herself impure and been unfaithful to her husband, this will be the result. When she is made to drink the water that brings a curse and causes bitter suffering, it will enter her, her abdomen will swell, her womb will miscarry, and she will become a curse. If, however, the woman has not made herself impure but is clean, she will be cleared of all guilt and will be able to have children.
Where are they getting these curses from?
Yeah. From what do you mean?
Like, how do they just like?
In other words, that the curse. So the curse that's given, may the Lord cause you to become a curse. Yeah. So the priest is invoking that curse.
A curse from God?
From God. From the Lord.
Okay.
Yeah. So maybe that's a whole nother discussion.
Yeah, this is weird.
All right. But my point just being is,
I feel like they got some of the instructions and were like, "What the? Like, what does this have to do with anything?"
All right. Well. Yeah, I mean, like, so I won't get into all. Like, Old Testament law
is just bizarre.
It can be.
I don't like it.
It can be, and there's a sense of blessing and curse, especially as you read through the law, and in particular.
Does God
in
still curse people?
All right, let's pin that one and put it aside. Okay.
All right, fine.
Because that's a whole nother discussion. All right. Okay. So again, the consequence will be, according to the NIV translation, if it's true that she committed adultery, she'll miscarry and she'll become a curse. If not, she'll be cleared of all guilt, will be able to have children. Okay?
All
right. So that's the NIV's version of it. All right?
So that is abortion.
Right.
According to this version.
Yeah. If you're reading that, I don't know how.
Oh, you cheated. Here's some abortion water. Drink it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to.
Will have an abortion.
Right. I mean, I don't know how you would read that any differently.
All right.
Right. Okay.
What if you accidentally drank cursed water? Cursed abortion water.
I would hope that there wouldn't just be an accident.
Ran into the temple from the desert.
Right.
Like, I need something to drink, and you're pregnant, and then you accidentally drank the cursed abortion water.
So, all right. Anyways, so let me read it from the NASB.
All right.
Okay. New American Standard. Mm-hmm. All right. Verse 21 of Numbers 5. Then the priest shall have the woman swear with the oath of the curse, and the priest shall say to the woman, "The Lord make you a curse and an oath among your people by the Lord's making your thigh waste away and your abdomen swell. And this water that brings a curse shall go into your stomach and make your abdomen swell and your thigh waste away."
Which thigh?
And the woman shall say, "Amen, amen."
Was that supposed to make it better?
No, that's the same. So same verses,
okay,
different translations.
All right.
One says miscarry.
Oh, and one does not.
And one does not.
Okay, so that's what I was supposed to pick up on.
Right.
What you just said. That's why you looked at me for a very long time, pausing,
right,
waiting for me to figure it out. And okay, all right,
right,
okay.
And so, because one says your abdomen will swell, your thigh will waste away.
Okay, so now we're at
thigh.
At not abortion water anymore.
Right.
We're at big tummy, no thigh water.
Right.
All right.
And so, and here's why. So to give you context for this, the NIV is more of a thought for thought. Okay. Way of translating.
All right.
The NASB, the New American Standard, is a more literal word for word.
Okay.
There's benefits, there's pros and cons to each methodology of translation. here's kind of what I'm getting to here is in the Old Testament, when it talks about the womb, okay, that is used by the NIV to talk about miscarriage, okay, or the thigh, which the NASB uses, okay. So this word most often is actually used for thigh or side, okay? And so that is, so the Hebrew word there is most often translated as that.
Okay.
So the NIV is actually one of the only few translations that actually has that as womb. Okay?
Oh, okay.
And then the word that they use for miscarriage, okay, is actually a word that's translated most often as fail.
Okay.
Okay. So let's say that it actually is the womb. Okay.
Okay. So are you saying that in one translation, it is the point of the water is to intentionally make the baby die?
Correct. That's what the NIV seems to be alluding to.
And in the other translation, what it's doing is not to make the baby die.
Correct. That's what that's the appearance of it, right? In other words,
okay, so it's just a swelling stomach and no hips.
Yeah. And let's say, so
I don't understand what that means.
Right. And I think to be honest with you, I think it more than likely is dealing with the womb. Okay. So
abortion.
Okay. Well, no, I think it's dealing with the womb,
okay,
because because you see, usually there's blessing and there's, like, the Old Testament set up with blessing and curse. Okay. So the curse is, all right, the womb will, and again, the NIV, they translate it as miscarriage.
Okay.
Okay. In the CSB, it says the womb will shrivel. Okay. So, and I think that's probably a more accurate translation, because the opposite of that is that she will be fruitful. She will have children. So I think it's actually talking about the distinction between barrenness and fruitfulness. In other words, the womb shriveling would be barrenness. The curse would be that they would be barren and unable to have children.
Oh, not to kill the baby.
Correct.
Okay.
So here's my point is, so Numbers 5 is used quite often as a proof text to say, using the NIV translation, to say
God's cool with abortion.
God's cool with abortion. He calls us miscarriages. What I think is probably a more accurate translation, using the original language, is that the womb will shrivel, or the womb will fail. It will be like the literal of it. The womb would fail. In other words, it'd be barren, unable to have children. And then the blessing of that is they are able to have children. And so, to be honest, I think that's a better way of looking at it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
And so I just wanted to throw that out there, because I just wanted to make sure we addressed what I think are the relevant passages of Scripture that people might use to speak to abortion.
Okay, so this is a big Christians hate abortions argument, which is when the soul enters the body.
Okay.
I'm confused.
All right.
Because to me, if we don't know that, then all those verses that you said seem irrelevant. Because if I'm mind, body, and soul as one, and we don't know at what point soul enters body, then why does any point of abortion matter to Christians?
Okay.
Like, if we don't know that, then what's the point?
Okay.
Of arguing about it from Christians. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if I agree with it, but I hear what you're saying.
So when does soul enter body?
All right. Yeah.
Is there any verses that address that?
No, there's no verses that address, like, at this moment a soul enters body.
Okay.
It's just, it seems that the body has soul within it.
Okay.
All right. So if if you talk about soul as, and I guess this is the question of what do we mean by the soul? Like, are you equating soul with like that eternal thing, quote unquote, that's within us?
Yeah.
All right, that makes
whatever
us eternal.
God takes to heaven.
Right, and so
So when does God put that in my body?
Right, and I guess I would say if soul is equated with that eternal part within us, all right, then it's there from point one. For me, living beings have souls.
Even dogs.
Even dogs. Okay?
All right.
So,
okay.
All right. Because when we talk about even like animals, there's living souls. They are living souls. And so I wrestle a little bit with what.
So what do dogs have that we don't, or what do, okay. What?
We're going to get into this now.
Yeah, we have to, I guess.
Okay.
Because what do dogs not have that I have then? So what's God putting in my body? What make, like, why?
Yeah.
Why can't I kill babies?
God. All right. So.
Or dogs.
Or dogs. Right. So, and so I think that the distinction becomes the spirit that's within us.
Okay, so when does the spirit enter the body?
All right. And I think that is, to me, the spirit part is the distinction. That's what is the image part of God within us.
Okay.
Okay. And so if the spirit within us that is what actually is that eternal part within us.
Okay, so God has a bucket of spirits.
Okay.
And he sees that there's a baby in the womb and is like, you go into that one, and just throws spirits into stuff.
I think in the forming there, I think from, let me put it this way, from point one there, we already have body, soul, and spirit.
So you're saying that, when conception happens, that God is creating a new spirit?
Yes.
Okay.
That's part of, like, in other words, that we are a triune being ourselves.
Body, soul, spirit.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
So God is, so people create new body.
Okay.
And God, at the exact same time, creates a new spirit. And who makes the soul?
Yeah, God's there too.
Okay.
Yes.
So God is at the exact same time as as sperm meets egg after doing it. God is like right there at the same time and puts a spirit and a soul inside there too.
Correct.
Oh, prove it.
Well, I don't know if I have to prove that.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think it'd be like saying, well, you proved that's not that way. Right? I mean,
okay.
I don't, in other words, I think we could get yourself talking in circles.
Okay. So you're saying that since I have ended up with body, soul, and spirit, that God must have done that at the time of conception.
Correct.
So my question is, how do we know that he did those two things at conception versus some other time later?
Because you don't have any other, like, scripturally speaking, there's no other, like, there's not a distinguishing point of, okay, that child's now out of the womb as a newborn baby. Now they're given a soul, or now they're given a spirit. There's not a point within Scripture that's making those kind of distinctions.
Except for before you were formed.
Yeah, I knew you. Yeah. And then the fact that, well, I think the fact that when David says in the Psalm that I am fearfully and wonderfully made, I think that speaks to God's createdness within us. And I would not want to go so far, because I don't think its passage is doing it itself. I don't think it's going so far as to say soul and spirit, but I do like explicitly. But I can see where David is saying that in regards to, this is what, like as humans, this is what is, I am fearfully, wonderfully made. This is what is separating me from every other living being on the earth.
Okay.
And that is the fact that there is soul, spirit, body all together.
The whole time.
The whole time. Correct.
Oh, okay. All right, fine.
Yeah.
I'm still a little confused, but we have more questions to go, so maybe I'll get unconfused.
Okay.
But that was the biggest thing I'm confused about, and I still think I'm confused. Because I don't think there's a good enough answer.
No, and I don't think if you're looking for a clear scriptural answer that says this is when soul or this is when spirit enters body,
I just have to put a bunch of other ones together and make an inference.
Yeah, and again, for me, it's just going back to the fact that we know that's human being.
So don't kill it.
From point one, so don't kill it. Like this is not, for me, this is not complicated. And I know we're going to get into some complicated issues around this.
Yeah.
But at its core, this is...
Because people be hating you, yo.
Oh, I know. And if they only listen to this episode, they may only hate me. So
and
please...
that's the only emotion they have toward you.
I know.
Only hate.
Only hate. So please listen to the
We've
next
been talking
episode
about
as
hate
well.
a lot recently.
Yeah. We talked about love.
Or abortion.
People... Yeah.
Or love.
Love.
No, you're right.
Right. You talked about some love.
Cool.
Yeah, but we got to talk about abortion one more time. One more episode.
Okay.
Yeah.
One more abortion to go. Episode. All right. Well, this has been the When I Heard This podcast. You can follow the podcast on Facebook and Instagram at When I Heard This podcast, and X and locals at When I Heard This. Go to Patreon, $5. Like, subscribe, share, comment, follow, download. Tell everyone that you know about the show and ring the notification bell. We have a website.
Yep.
And it has t-shirts and all the other stuff that's there.
Merch.
And general things about Joseph and I that are almost useless, but they're there. We have blurbs.
Yes.
That's a word.
I said it is a word.
Yeah. You can follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Nate Robinsoft. You can follow Joseph on Instagram at
Rev Joe T. And how about this cat?
This has been the When I Heard This podcast. And we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.